everyone, I'm Tiffany Eddy.
And I'm Tom Praisall.
And we are so pleased to welcome you to another episode of
Anything But Politics.
And today we have a wonderful episode. We're so excited about this next guest and can't wait to tell you all about her. Tom?
Yeah, today's guest is someone who's, I think if you looked up public service in the dictionary, you might see a picture of her. She has been a city councilor for 20 years, former mayor of Lebanon, and currently an executive councilor in District 2. So without further ado, we'll introduce Councilor Karen Liot Hill.
All right.
Liot Hill.
Hi.
Liot
Yeah.
Hill.
Liot Hill. That's right.
That's right.
Actually, thank you for intentionally messing it up so that we could talk about
Well, that's the whole
how to
point.
pronounce my name, because a lot of people wonder.
Right. I thought, and please forgive me, but I always thought when I read about you in the paper, I always thought it was Liot Hill. And so it's not. It's spelled L-I-O-T.
That's right.
But it's pronounced
Leo, like Leo the lion, roar.
Roar.
And it's the T is silent. It's French, so it's a little sneaky like that. And so the T is silent. I was born in France, and actually, my father's branch of the Leos are the only ones in this country. So pretty, I guess, a little fun fact about me.
Yeah,
That
well,
is a
tell me
fun
a little
fact.
bit about being born in France. So when did you come to the United States, and brothers, sisters,
Do you have a
family
French
still
passport? Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I have dual citizenship. My mother was an American college student doing a study abroad. She met my father, who is French, and he lived in Rouen, which is the second largest city. So Paris is the biggest city in France, and then Rouen is in Normandy. And that's where his family is from. And so they met in college, and she decided she didn't want to come back to the States, and she actually got permission to stay there. And they did a lot of hippie traveling the world. And then I guess when they got pregnant with me, they moved. They went back to France, and I was born in Brittany, which is really near the ocean. So I definitely have like a strong connection. They were sailors. Actually, they had a dream of sailing across the world one day. And then we moved to the States when my father did roofing school, because that was kind of like, they got pregnant, they went to Brittany so he could go to roofing school in Brittany. And then he came when I was about 2 years old. We moved to the States, and my younger siblings, I have 5 younger siblings,
Wow.
were born here. And we lived on the east end of Long Island. That's where I grew up, in Sag Harbor, a small sailing town. My mom sadly died when I was 6 years old, so she had 2 more kids. So there were 3 of us, and my dad had 3 kids and a roofing business. He did slate and tile roofs and metal roofs, so really nice homes, and in the Hamptons. And then he got married, so I have a great stepmom, and she had a kid, so that was 4 of us. And then they had 2 kids, so we've got the whole, yours, mine, and ours blended family. And I'm the oldest, so I'm the oldest of 6.
So your family gatherings or holiday gatherings, they must be
Loud.
be wild.
That is for sure. We do make a point to get together every year for Thanksgiving. Almost everyone makes it. I do have, most of them still live on the east end of Long Island. My dad and my sister Michelle and my other sister Erin, and then my sister Hannah, and my brother Silas, actually. But then my other brother Maddie, he lives in Chile in South America.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't know. I think we're all hoping that maybe in the
gonna
next
host
couple of years
Thanksgiving.
he's going to host Thanksgiving. And my dad bought a boat. He did not get to sail around the world with my mother. That didn't work out. But he always kept that dream alive. And so he just sold his roofing business last year and he sunk quite a bit of my inheritance.
It happens.
Oh, well.
Into a beautiful
Into
boat.
a beautiful boat. And so who knows, maybe there'll even be some sailing to South America in the works, but we'll see.
That would be so cool.
It would be pretty amazing. That's kind of lifetime bucket list stuff. But he's doing it. He spent the summer sailing with like one of his high school best friends, Arnaud, and they've been sailing up and down the eastern seaboard. And so I'm hoping next summer I might be able to get to sail with them a little bit.
Yeah,
but
they can
he
just
seems
pick
to
you
be
up.
living his best life, and I'm really happy for him.
That's awesome. Now, can you sail?
Yeah, we grew up, we had a small sailboat growing up, and, Sag Harbor had like races every Wednesday night. It was a big part of like life on the East End. And so it's kind of the one thing I miss living in New Hampshire, because I live in Lebanon, so all the way on the West Coast on the
Right.
Vermont border. So no ocean there, but I've
You
been
got the
out
Connecticut
sailing.
River. You can
There's-
sail down the Connecticut River.
and Lake Sunapee and Lake Mascoma. So my kids did some sailing when they were little in Mascoma Lake. And yeah, sailing is really special, that feeling of freedom. And I always find it like whenever I can go to the ocean, I find it incredibly grounding. Like whatever's going on, I always feel like if I'm at the ocean and I look out and I see the horizon, and it's just, there's something awesome, like literally awesome. It fills me with awe, and also it fills me almost like with a sense of like content, serenity,
Yeah.
and so I find like I always try and get to the ocean at least once or, a couple times a year, because it just makes me feel good.
Something
Yes.
about that smell too, it kind of hits you and you're like, oh, it's so wonderful.
And the ocean water helps with the tan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
Oh, plus it's also like, it's really medicinal. Did you know it's like really, ocean water, salt water is really good for poison ivy, like any kind of skin rashes and stuff, like
Yeah.
very good for that. So, it's also, I like things that are like really, that meet multiple goals. So the ocean is just wonderful to me.
Yeah. No, I love the ocean.
So you mentioned having kids. So
Yeah.
please tell me a little bit about your family. You have how many kids and how old are they?
Yeah.
And are they around? And
Yeah, I have 2 adult children, which
Oh,
is
wow.
kind of wild to
you
me.
don't look old enough.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I kind of got a jump start on things. My daughter, Marina, was born while I was in college. So I like to say I graduated with honors in government and a 3-year-old, which was
Probably
really
not
hard.
easy. Yeah.
It was really hard. But I'll tell you what, I was a much better student after she was born.
I bet. Time management, right?
Totally. And it forced me to really, know what my priorities had to be.
Yeah,
and
grow up.
It really did. And also, it gave me like an incredible sense of purpose. And so I just I was really, I feel so fortunate that she came along when she did. And I think she's really made me a better person. Certainly, her birth was a big part of why I decided to pursue public service. So she is now 26 years old, and she actually just took a job in Los Angeles. She works in finance. So she lived in New York City after she graduated college for the last few years, and she just moved cross country.
Wow.
So I got to go out and help her move into her apartment over the Mother's Day weekend, and that was nice. But we talk regularly, like almost every day. But
Probably
I miss
not big
her.
enough to host Thanksgiving, though, right?
No, I don't think we'll be going to her apartment for Thanksgiving, but that would be fun. And then my younger one, Zoe, is 19, and both my kids went to Lebanon public schools. And so Zoe graduated last year, did a little bit of college, but that wasn't the right choice last year. And so I got a roommate now, and that's really fun, actually. Having adult children, like I've loved being a mom and over the years, and all the different phases of kids
Yeah.
is like they're really special. And I just hadn't anticipated how awesome it is to have adult kids, and you just kind of interact in different ways. And so it's been really, really special. And Zoe has been, I would say, like over the last 2 years with running for the executive council and then now serving on the executive council, we've put about 70,000 miles on my car.
Wow.
And we've done a lot of that together. And Zoe got their license during that time. And so now I get to live my best life as a passenger princess.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Let me ask you a mom question, because I think you and I, we have children that are about a similar age, but my daughter just moved out, and she's now, living on her own. And it's a weird transition, because all of a sudden you go from being needed and they're there all the time to like, hello, she's not. But have you had any difficulty, especially, I mean, my daughter's still in New Hampshire, but about an hour away, but like having her across the whole United States, like how do you as a mom like adjust to, she's now an adult, she's on her own, she doesn't need you as much anymore.
Yeah, and also it was like a really big change. Like New York City you can still jump in your car and get there. Like if something goes wrong or like there's an emergency, you can be there. And it's not like that happened, like, but I knew in my head,
Right.
like
Yeah,
I could
having that.
physically get myself there if I needed. And so this is totally different, like being across the country. There's a lot more, like I have to breathe sometimes and just
That's
like
helpful.
remember that like, okay, like you can't, Marina is going to have to, she's going to have to figure things out on her own, and she can. Like she's doing it. She successfully moved herself across country and started a new job and bought a car and like is doing all these interesting things. And I'm super proud of her. But it definitely is an adjustment to like feel like to just feel that kind of separation, but like healthy separation.
Right.
But yeah, there's a little like. It's a transition, and I think it's there's something bittersweet about it, but I also do feel just a lot of pride, and, you want your kids to be happy and you want them to be able to live without you, right? Like,
Right, that's our job. So
that's
that
our
they
job.
Well, you
Exactly.
obviously succeeded. I mean, she's a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
Feeling comfortable enough to move across the country.
Yeah.
Now, quick question. Marina.
Yeah.
Was that name based on your love of sailing, or?
Well, it's obviously got this, marine vibe. I have a friend that I grew up with, and her name was Marina. And I actually, when I was pregnant with Marina, I was so persuaded in my head that she was going to be a boy that I had
Goodness.
only thought of boy names. And then she was born. She was actually born 10 weeks early.
Oh, wow.
She was only 3 pounds when she was born. It
wow.
was it was a lot, and she was in the neonatal intensive care unit for 5 weeks. And so I had some time to come up with a name.
Yeah.
But it took me probably about a week. And so then I was like, Marina, could I name my baby after you? And she was like, I'd be honored. And then it turned out, this was really cool, is that Saint Marina is the patron saint of Brittany, where I was born. And so
wow.
it felt pretty neat. And the other thing I noticed is that it's a very like multicultural, like kind of global name. So it can be Russian, it can be Spanish, it can be like,
Sure.
it's just a very, a Greek, it can be Greek as well. So I think it's pretty neat.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
It really is a beautiful name.
Well,
I love taking pictures of marinas and sending them to her. Like whenever I see a marina sign,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
that's fantastic. And you mentioned that you had her while you were in school. Now,
Yeah.
so you went from Sag Harbor to Dartmouth.
I did,
Where you got
yeah.
your degree
Yep.
in government, I believe.
That's right.
And so is that what brought you to New Hampshire?
Yeah, exactly. So I've got the granite of New Hampshire in my muscles and my brains. That's
Yeah.
part of our alma mater at Dartmouth. And, I really fell in love with, well, at first I was like, oh my goodness, this is another small town with like super wealthy people. And like it felt very similar to the Hamptons to me, actually.
Okay.
Where you have these dynamics of like the local people, and they love to hate the people from away. And there's all these, and it was one main street, Sag Harbor, one main street, Hanover, one main street. It was like literally a small town. And then Marina was born, and I was like, actually, this is a really special place to raise a family. And I ended up writing I wrote a thesis when I was an undergrad on public education in New Hampshire and Vermont. And so this was in the 90s. They were both undergoing education reform. There were lawsuits in both states, New Hampshire and Vermont. And so that's what I studied in college. I'm like literally the biggest nerd, okay? Especially about education funding, okay? Like confessions from Karen. I am a huge education funding nerd. And yeah, so it was in Claremont. So that was when the Claremont decisions were happening. And I wrote my thesis on public education funding in New Hampshire and Vermont. I interviewed principals and superintendents up and down the Connecticut River I paired up communities like Keene and Brattleboro all the way up to Littleton and St. Johnsbury. And I interviewed the superintendents and all of the principals in all of these districts. And I just knew it was then Marina was, a toddler at that point. And I just knew I was going to spend the rest of my life in New Hampshire and working in some way in public service to try and, make things better. I really believe in public education as being the great equalizer. And so it was that, that kind of academic work that made me fall in love with the state. and also fall in love with public service in New Hampshire. And, it's an incredible state because a regular person can get involved and make a difference. And I did that on the city council for a long time, and now I have a even bigger seat from which I get to be a part of, solutions and solving problems.
Yeah, I tell you, it's really interesting that you paired up those towns like Keene and Brattleboro, and without spoiling your thesis, what did you find out?
Oh, yeah, I know. I have to go dig it up because I'm thinking maybe for my I've been working on a master's degree that I haven't finished, but I'm thinking maybe I need to revisit my undergrad one for this. What I found at that time was that what's interesting because New Hampshire and Vermont, similar geographically in size, but Vermont is about half the size population-wise, and it is about twice as poor. Okay, so they are smaller population-wise and a lot poorer. New Hampshire is a wealthy state, relatively speaking, when you look at per capita income. And what I found at that time, they were both taking super different approaches to education funding and reform at that time. And in New Hampshire, they basically have refused to have not dealt with it for the last 30 years in a sustainable way. In Vermont, they put some reforms in place that actually offered a lot more technical assistance, where they gave more funding to states based on what the students, what the need was. So socioeconomic factors, whether, the higher free and reduced lunch, for example, communities that have higher poverty. So they targeted some funds, but they also brought in some technical assistance, meaning that if a community was struggling or had higher needs, they would actually bring in resources. The state would almost be like a consultant for the school districts. And what I found was that the school districts in New Hampshire and Vermont, all school districts that have that are pretty wealthy, that have a high, achieve high educational attainment of the parents, right? Like when you have smart parents, they're going to raise smart kids. Wealthy districts, everyone's doing fine. But I did find that in Vermont, in the poorest towns, which in Vermont, the poorest towns are even poorer than our poor towns, and you could look at, for example, Claremont and Springfield. So Claremont, New Hampshire, and Springfield, Vermont, that the kids in Vermont, the kids in the worse off school districts, those ones were doing better. So kind of providing that safety net, and the state seemed to be finding, at least at that time, ways to help out the kids that were really falling through the cracks in Vermont. And in New Hampshire, kids have been just straight up falling through the cracks for the last 30 years.
Interesting.
So, fascinating. Yeah. I mean, fascinating studies. Interesting that you decided to get into public service. And so your first role was at city council, or?
Yeah. I was a big Howard Dean supporter, actually, during the 2004 presidential primary. One of the perks of living in New Hampshire. And when he dropped out of the race, I was like an Uber volunteer. It was really my first political love was Howard Dean.
Yeah.
And when he dropped out, he said this thing. It was great. We were all so depressed. I swear, Dean supporters were really, really upset. And I remember he said, "You know what? You can't drop out. You have to stay involved. In fact, voting isn't enough. You get a D for voting. You get a C if you give money to a campaign. You get a B if you knock doors for a campaign, and you get an A if you run for office."
Oh, wow.
And so that year in 2004, I helped. I figured out that I really loved managing campaigns, actually. So I helped manage campaigns for our state reps in Lebanon. It was the first year that Lebanon sent all 4 of our state reps were Democrats, the first time that happened. And then that following year in 2005, the city council elections were coming up. And I said, well, I guess it's my turn. And so I stepped up to run at that time and did it for the next 20 years.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And then what was it so obviously you're in your first term as executive counselor. What made you decide, at what point were you like, you know what, I'm going to run for executive council?
Yeah, that is a great question. So
we
Ray,
only ask good questions.
Yeah, obviously. No, this is fun.
That's all we do all day long.
And I really like answering questions. So fun. Yeah. But Ray Burton was the first executive counselor that I knew. He was like a legend in New Hampshire.
He used to give out
Yeah.
pot holders that said, "No issue is too hot to handle."
Exactly. And combs. He used to
Yeah.
give out combs everywhere. He was really special. And he was my executive counselor before redistricting. So in the district that he was in, Lebanon was part of it. And he used to come to town. He would do an airport tour. And he would come to town. Lebanon's got an airport, so he would fly in and we would meet up. Some of the city councilors or whatever would meet up, and he would say, "Counselor," and I would say, "Counselor," and
That's fun.
so I remember how effective he was, and so I kind of was aware of the executive council for a long time, and I think I probably at some point in the last 10 years or so, I sort of thought, I think that's what I would, that feels like the next thing for me. Like I'd like to serve in that role. And because executive council, it turns out, is just like city council. It's just for the whole state. And so then later on, a few years later, there was redistricting. Mike Cryans ran several times, and he was a good family friend of my now ex, but of the Hill family. And so I never was interested in running against him. And so I thought, I'll see when the time comes up. And so then when Councilor Cindy Warmington announced that she was running for governor, I said, all right, this is my time. Like I'm coming up on 20 years on the city council. I can look back and look at things that I've been a part of, different housing, different environmental protection, a lot of infrastructure investments, and just a lot of work that I could look back and feel good about kind of passing the torch. And so I was really excited to take that opportunity and run.
So I'm going to ask a question because the Executive Council in New Hampshire is pretty unique to New Hampshire. And I know we've got a lot of listeners from across the country. So can you take a couple minutes and just tell us what an executive councilor does in New Hampshire and their role in the government?
I think
Thank
you mean
you.
internationally.
Internationally as well, yeah.
Whoa, yes, Canada, Mexico, across the
Ireland.
pond,
Yeah.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. The Executive Council is unique to New Hampshire. It is, all states in the United States, for our international listeners, watchers, all states have a governor. We're the only state to have a governor and an executive council. So there are 5 executive councilors, and we are an additional check and balance on the governor. And like I said, it's like a city council, literally. We meet twice a month. We sit around a table. The governor sits at one end, and then the 5 of us, Councilor 1, 2, that's my seat, and then 3, 4, and 5, and we conduct all the business of the state to keep the state running. I use the word CARS when I talk about the Executive Council. It stands for contracts because we vote on all state spending. A is for appointments because we vote on all gubernatorial appointments. So this includes the commissioners of our state agency, like we voted on an education commissioner recently. Also the commissioner of corrections running our state prisons. We also vote on all judges. So coming up next week, we're going to be having a hearing and then ultimately voting on a new Supreme Court justice. So all judges are voted on by the Executive Council, and then hundreds of boards and committees. There are literally thousands of people who serve our state in a volunteer capacity that come through the Executive Council. The governor will nominate them, and then we vote on them. So that's appointments. Ours for roads. A major responsibility of the Executive Council is our state's 10-year highway plan. So all the roads and bridges, and the Executive Council is responsible for updating that 10-year plan every 2 years. So this year, every odd year, we're in the process of, identifying which projects are going to make it into the list, which ones are going to have to get cut this year. We have actually $600 million of cuts that we have to make because inflation has been going up and the projects are a lot more expensive. So that's going to be a lot of work this fall. And then we're responsible for all the other infrastructure, dams and the prisons. We're also responsible for hatcheries. There's all the infrastructure that the state owns, the wildlife management areas and stuff like that, the state parks, Cannon Mountain and Mount Sunapee, both in my district. So all that infrastructure. And then lastly, so CARS, contracts, appointments, roads, and services, because we do a ton of constituent services. So helping communities, helping people, if someone's got an issue, maybe it's a driveway permit, or maybe it's a federal grant, like it runs the gamut. and we help a lot of someone actually. They live on a state road, and their mailbox got taken out by a plow, and they got in touch with me, and that was, so just like city council, honestly, just like city council.
And when you say contracts, we're talking like, in order for it to come to the executive council, it's not a high bar.
$10,000.
$10,000. So
Yeah.
if a state building needs new windows,
Totally.
that's you guys.
That's right.
It's a lot of reading.
It is stacks.
You should see these stacks of paper.
It's crazy. And what's crazy is that we have our meetings are on basically every other Wednesday, and we get our agendas on Friday, 4 days before, or 5 days, but we end up having 4 days to review all of those contracts. We might have, on city council, we would have like maybe a page or two for an agenda. For executive council, it'll be like 26 pages. Or 15 pages and hundreds of items. And so you don't have a lot of time to do the work, but the commissioners are really great. They I like to try and figure out my questions and ask them ahead of time, because those council meetings, once they start, that agenda, it moves fast. People make motions. We got to cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. And so, there's a lot that goes into preparation. Those 4 days are like really intense. Last week, the governor actually gave us an extra day. Okay.
wow.
No, it was like and so I even said to someone, I said, I'm feeling very generous toward the governor right now, because she gave us an extra day, and I thought that was very nice of her. So,
So that's a lot. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of reading. So,
Yeah.
and I know you're a funaholic, right? Like we're all
do like to have
funaholics here at
fun.
this table. So what do you do for fun? I know you love to sing, right? And you've promised me you're going to teach me how to play the piano at some point.
Hey, I think you have this whole year, right? Don't you have like a
Until, like,
birthday-related
April,
goal?
yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll have to work on it. Yeah, I play piano and I sing, and that's always been, like, music has always been a really important part of my my life. I was lucky, like, my parents really worked hard to make it so possible for me. When there's 6 kids, like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not a lot of extras, and so I was pretty lucky that I got to have piano lessons. And then I grew up in church, so I started playing piano in church a lot, and that was kind of where I learned how to sing. We started doing some, like, contemporary music, so that was sort of the gateway drug into rock and roll.
Ooh.
So then, I started
Was it Sister
playing.
Act that got you guys into?
Probably.
That was a great movie.
Whoopi Goldberg.
That
I
was great.
still watch it every time it's on. But anyways, go on.
No, actually, my siblings and I, we definitely thought that we were the Von Trapp family singers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
It's
a lot
adorable.
of Sound of
Yeah.
Music. We did a lot of, like, dress up and reenactment. So Julie Andrews is, like, one of my idols, and definitely where I learned to sing. I think I would credit her with that. So it's fun because over the years, then I've played in church always. I've always been involved in that. When I went to college, I still played with one of the Christian groups on campus, and played, was the worship leader at First Baptist Church in Lebanon for 15, almost 20 years. Now I am the music leader I play piano and I play organ at this small Lutheran church in Enfield, which is really fun because I don't play organ, but I'm learning. I think it's good for my brain, especially during perimenopause. I think you need to keep your brain going. And over the years, I've played with different bands or played solo. I've done a lot of, like, après ski and kind
wow.
of fun, like gigs. I've done music, and it's always been sometimes a source of income, which has been great. Like I like to joke that I'm like the queen of the side hustle, but when you're in public service in New Hampshire, there's not
Yeah.
a lot of compensation, and so over the years I've done a lot of different things, including being a musician, and so I love music. When I find that it's an important outlet for me, and it kind of feeds my soul.
Are there any upcoming gigs that we might, our international listeners might be interested in catching you at?
That's great. Oh, I'm sure there'll be some coming
Wembley
up. I'm
Stadium?
going to have to do some. The holidays are coming up, or they're going to be around the corner, and but whenever there's a piano, I'm always there. But I've got an idea of doing some music. We'll see. I might do a little something in Concord coming up this winter.
I was at an event with a piano that Councilor Liot Hill played. Jeremiah, was the
Was a
bullfrog.
bullfrog, yeah.
And
Joy
it
to the
was-
world, baby.
And let me tell you something. I had never heard you sing before, and I was just like blown away. It was so good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And that's when I was like, I need to learn how to play the piano because tickling those ivories. I mean, it just seems so cool.
It is a pretty fun, like party trick. You know,
Yeah.
to get to. Actually, it was really fun for me. One of the traditions of the Executive Council is that we go year round. We don't stop like the legislature, but in the summer we go on the road, and each counselor and the governor get to host a meeting you do it in your district, so it's a way to like show off, your district, and then. When you're the one hosting, you also are responsible for like doing the ceremonial things, like finding someone to do the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and you get to give out commendations, and you also do a little music. There's always a little music before the council meeting.
Nice.
And so for my meeting that I just hosted earlier this month, or last month, I guess it was now, at Sunapee, I actually put together a little ensemble with Megan in my office.
Yeah.
She's the executive council assistant, and
Oh,
she's
yeah,
an
Megan's great.
incredibly talented singer. And then also Miles Madsen in the governor's office. He's the governor's legal counsel. So it was a little executive branch
What
ensemble.
instrument does he play?
He plays bagpipe.
Get
He's
out.
incredible
Wow.
bagpipe. No, but like world class. Like
That's
he's
so hard
he
to
doesn't
do.
mess around. He's profesh, okay? And so when I found that out a few months ago, I've been kind of figuring like, how can I want to jam with this guy. And we did it. I learned like, those like Irish trad sessions where it's like a fiddle, there's usually like fiddlers and stuff. And so I learned he taught me some I don't know if it was Irish or Cape Breton music, but that in that tradition. And anyway, it was terrific. It was bipartisan, and it was executive
awesome.
branch. So, and that was fun to get to share that with the with the executive council too.
That's wonderful. That sounds amazing. Like, I'm going to start hitting these meetings just for the music.
Yeah, and also there's breakfast. Okay.
Oh, and they
There
give
is-
you.
I've
Wow.
been to
There's breakfast. Yeah.
It's usually a pretty good breakfast too.
One thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if you're fully aware, but you and I are both in the company of greatness here.
Oh, well, I mean, I was aware, but tell me more.
Well, a lot of people, Tom's kind of modest about this, but, club champion.
Where's this? Oh, no, it was the member champion. That was like
member-
last year.
hey,
so-
but champion is champion.
But Tom is a golf champion, and I'm sure there's
It's
going
the
to be.
only legacy I'm leaving this world.
So he is a big golfer, and if you spend
Nice.
any time with Tom, he talks about golf a lot. And also the club championship is coming up. But you mentioned that you like golf too, right?
I do. I have always enjoyed playing golf. I was married to a golfer, and so used to play with him sometimes. Used to get invited to tournaments, and then my daughter Marina was on the golf team in high school, so I spent a lot of time
Nice.
getting to go visit some nice golf courses around the state. And Zoe and I, we just a couple of years ago, we did some lessons together. That was fun. So yeah, I'm good. Hit me up, people. There has been a remarkable lack of golf. I thought there was going to be more golf on the executive council.
Don't threaten us with a good time, right? No, I think
Fall
that's,
golf is actually like the best.
Fall
I
golf
think.
is the best.
right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's a little
Fall is
chilly
my
for me,
favorite.
but-
Fall is my favorite season. I think. Do you guys have a favorite season?
Oh, summer, 100%.
Oh, really? It's
Look at
too
this
hot
tan.
for me.
It's all
yeah,
about the
you
tan.
do
It's
all about
look
the
like a
tan.
summer lover. Yeah. How about you?
I'm fall. I love
yeah,
fall.
yeah. Fall is my favorite.
There's no humidity. The
Yes.
leaves are pretty. I get a little sad because winter's coming, but fall's so beautiful here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And boots and sweaters
Yeah.
make me so happy.
Best outfits ever.
Totally.
I like a good vest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're ready. Come on.
It's new.
Maybe it's your second. Maybe it's your second favorite season.
So a lot of work being an executive counselor, a
Yeah.
lot of work being a city councilor, a lot of work being a mayor, but you have a motto you live by that
Oh,
I also live by.
yeah.
And I kind of alluded to it when I said we're all a bunch of funaholics, but
That's right.
I mean, when you work really hard, you got to play hard, right? And
That's
isn't
right.
that's your motto?
Work hard, play hard. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that is, I do find joy in what I do, which is really nice. But it is a lot of hard work, and especially like the contracts review, like it can just really, be very analytical, right? Like it really taxes a particular part of your brain. So I think it is important to have like music is a great outlet for me. I love dancing. I have some girlfriends that I love to go out dancing. Like, they love jam bands. It's not my super favorite, but I love dancing. And so I go out with them and we have a really good time. And I also think that, I love being around people. I'm really lucky that my job includes both, kind of an intellectual part, but also a real people part. Because I love being around people. I feel like I'm always trying to find a connection with someone. I'm always like, oh, I do that, or I'm like, I don't know. And I'm always trying to find a connection. And I guess it's because I think that people are more, like, there's a lot more that does connect us than doesn't, And I guess I'm just wired that way to try and want to find out how I can connect with someone, but also like what matters to them and what's important to people. That's an important part of, like, I like doing that, and it's an important part of my job, being a good representative, being a good executive counselor, doing good constituent services. You have to know what's important to people and be interested in people. So I think there's also like a fine line, work hard, play hard, as you can kind of be working and playing sometimes at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel really lucky.
It's funny, though, because when you told me that was your life motto, it reminded me of my elementary school principal, Mrs. Patty O'Leary.
Nice.
Who was from like the Boston area, but we were in Western Mass, so she had a thick accent. And every school assembly, she'd always say, remember, kids, you have to work hard, work hard, work hard, and then you play hard. And it's
Nice.
always stuck with me since I was in like, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So...
And that sounds like she had a 3-to-1 ratio there.
Yeah.
Sounds like,
Yeah,
all right, that's probably good. That's probably a good ratio.
I may have brought down the 2-to-1, in my life, but...
And hey, there's different chapters, there's different seasons too, right? Another one of my mottos, I'm good for mottos. I like to say, why make it an either or when it can be a both and?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
That's another one of my mottos.
Did you make that up, or was that from?
I mean, I'm sure I cannot imagine that I'm the only person in the world to have said it, but as far as I know, I made it up.
Well, just
As far as
you
we
made
know,
it up.
yeah.
I got
You
it.
heard it here first.
That's right.
Exactly.
And also another motto with my kids, and I definitely did not make this one up, but don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. That's another important one. And then another one that I talk about with my kids too is, and I think for myself, we live in the world as it is. We have to live in the world as it is, not the way we want it to be, while at the same time we have to work to make the world the place that we want it to be. And so I think for me, that kind of like, it really encapsulates, I think, a lot of what motivates me of, being a practical, pragmatic person and always, just wanting to figure out how can we move forward, how can we make things better, but being practical while still also trying to push for progress. And I guess I see kind of my calling in life.
That's amazing. That's very inspiring. Yeah. No, I'm wondering, okay, so first of all, I have to ask, so what jam band concerts have you been at? I'm just curious personally. And then...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so lately there's this great band from Massachusetts that's been coming up, Boomstock. Have you heard of Boomstock?
No.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. They've played at Sunapee a bunch of times, and I want to say like in Stratford, but they're great. Boomstock. I would say that they're like a combination of like Grateful Dead, Fish, and Pink Floyd, right?
Very
kind of like that
interesting.
Pink. And then, do you know this band, Pink Talking Fish? Pink Floyd, Talking Heads, and Fish.
Oh, wow.
They're really great. They played like at the Flying Monkey in Plymouth a bunch. I would say also, oh my goodness, this is like a jam band, but I don't think anyone else, I think I might be making this up too. This is like a brass jam band. Do you know Trombone Shorty?
I've heard of them.
Yes, I
My
have
gosh,
heard of them.
I love Trombone Shorty so much. And Trombone Shorty, he'll have like, I don't even know, 15 people up there, but I swear they're a jam band. They just are with all of their brass instruments. So you wouldn't think of them. They're not, they don't play Grateful Dead music, but they just like to get up there and jam, and it's so awesome. So Yeah, those are a few.
It's fun to envision, like executive counselor, Leo Hill's like out there jamming around.
Well, that's why she's so happy. And I will
Yeah.
say, I mean, I've never seen you in a bad mood. I've always seen you very cheerful, very upbeat, positive, and I think that's something that's great, especially for an elected official, to see joy in people.
Yeah.
We see joy in everyone that comes on our show, but that's
Yeah.
because they're on our show.
Well, yeah.
But,
There's
but
always
no,
a lot of joy as soon as they walk in the studio, but
But the power of positivity, I think, is really important, and I know you embody that in your role, and that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
You love what you do.
I do.
And that's important.
Yeah, I really do love what I do. Like I wake up every day and I feel so lucky that I get to do this job. Like I really do. And it's not that it's easy, right? Like it's hard. There's a lot of hard work. Right now, like lately, I'm also, I'm the only Democrat on the in the executive branch right now. The governor and the other 4 counselors are Republicans, and I'm the target of some Republican attacks, more from people in the House. But I got a target on my back, and that's okay. That comes with the job. But I would say that despite those things, I still I love what I do. I feel so lucky that I get to spend every day trying to figure out how to make the world a better place. It's like such a cliche, but it's literally just the truth about me. And so I think, I am happy and smiley and positive, but it's authentic. And,
Yeah.
And I've experienced a lot of sadness in my life too. My mother died when I was young. We experienced domestic violence in my house growing up, and then in my relationship as an adult. And so it's not to say that I haven't experienced pain and loss, but I think in a way that is what it gives me perspective, and it makes me really appreciate what I do have, and it makes me really thankful.
Yeah. Makes you a good public servant, too.
yeah, you can really understand the depths of what a lot of people have gone through. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. I think lived experience is really important, and I think that's part of what makes, in an ideal way, that's what deliberative democracy is about, that everyone brings a different perspective. And in theory, no one has all the answers, right? I get it that I think I'm pretty smart. I think I have some good ideas. But I also recognize that, I come with what I know, and that other people are going to come with what they know and have something to contribute. And so I think that's also why one of the reasons I loved being part of a city council and now being part of executive council is that, even if they're a different party than me or whatever, I still recognize that, we all have something different to bring, and I really value that. And I think that's kind of the American ideal, right, of our American democracy, is that together, but having discussions, having debate, having dialogue, that's how ultimately you can come to the best. Come to something better than what any individual could do. So I really believe in that, collaboration and cooperation.
Yeah, and I mean, you do find common ground with your fellow counselors
Yeah.
quite often, so that's a good thing.
I think so, yeah.
I'm wondering, because this is your first term as executive counselor, but obviously you're very passionate about public service and making a difference. And do you think that, and maybe you don't know, but do you think that maybe you want to do more beyond executive council someday, or are you just kind of focused on this right now? But if you had to look ahead, 5-10 years from now, I might consider doing X, Y, or Z. Is that something that's possibly on your radar?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, anything's possible for the future. I have no immediate plans. There are a lot of questions right now about, what Democrat is going to run for governor. It will not be me. I am not planning to run for governor, next year. This is a really big job. And I think I saw this when I got on to city council in the beginning. I was like, holy moly, I'm going to need 2 years to just even know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel like even though I bring 20 years of experience, I'm still a rookie. I'm still learning all the state stuff. And I think it's going to take me several years to know, to be able to become a really effective counselor. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. But I know I've got a lot more to learn. And the more I learn, the more questions I have. And so it's going to take me a while. Ray Burton was an executive counselor for over 30 years. And, that's the kind of tradition that I see myself walking in. I hope that, I'll be a great executive counselor. And so that's what I'm focused on for now. But, not going to rule anything out for the future, that's for sure.
As long as you have enough time to teach me how to play the piano first. That's all that matters.
Well, we're pretty lucky that there's a piano at Brothers Cortado. So,
that's right.
In Concord, there are some pianos. I tend to find them, around. So we'll do it.
Yeah.
I want to watch this,
That's
too.
a promise.
Hey, you know what? Invite me to play some golf, and we could trade, right? A little, isn't that
I think that's
quid
fair.
pro quo?
Yeah,
something like that.
I think that's
All right.
fair.
I like that. That sounds like a fun one. But you do other fun things, though, besides singing and going to jam band concerts. So I believe that you do some cooking. We were talking a little bit before. And so I always love talking about my days as a chicken farmer. But tell me about cooking.
Yeah, well, I owned a restaurant for 8 years, a little diner in downtown Lebanon. So
love a good
basically,
diner.
I'm a highly qualified short order cook and waitress and dishwasher. I'm actually dishwasher was what I spent a lot of time doing. I love cooking and actually, gosh, that chapter of my life, it closed because of COVID, and it was fine. My ex and I were no longer together. We were running the restaurant, but we were not married, and so it was time for that chapter to end. But there was a lot of fun. It was very stressful, I have to say. It was fun being around people, being a part of people's lives. You get to be part of their Saturday morning chores. They stop on their way to the dump, or they come on Sunday, or they celebrate birthdays or engagements. Like, we were really part of people's lives, which was super special. But I do not miss the stress of owning a small business. But yeah, I do. I love cooking. I think food is one of the great pleasures of life. So
Because you're French and you use butter for everything.
yeah, I guess. In French, it's funny. In French, they have a word for it. We know the word gourmet, right? But in French, they also have a word gourmand, which is like the female version of someone who really appreciates food. So I am a gourmand. It's true.
Favorite thing to cook?
Ooh, that's a great question. For breakfast, I love making eggs Benedict. So
those are hard to make.
Benny.
hollandaise sauce is like.
I love a good Irish
good.
Benedict.
Oh yeah, a little
Yeah.
corned beef hash.
Yeah.
Oh, our hash was so good.
Getting hungry now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
We need some snackies.
It's almost dinner time. Well,
Yeah, no, I know you've got to run because I know you've
Yeah.
got a lot on your plate right now, and I think you have a meeting you have to travel.
Got some constituents I gotta get to.
well, we're really grateful that you took some time out of your schedule to come down, let us get to know you, and share some of yourself with us and all of the listeners, both domestically and internationally.
Yeah, and maybe we can.
Thank you for this incredible platform.
And maybe in a year or so, maybe around April,
Yeah.
we can get together and see what I've learned.
All right, excellent.
piano.
Sing along by Tom.
Yeah,
Huh?
I don't know about singing. I thought it was just playing the piano.
Oh, all right.
Well, I think we're going to have a one-year bash to celebrate anything but politics. Maybe
Yeah.
you could play piano at that.
Hey, okay. That's great.
Sold.
All right, count me in.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. We're going to hold you to that. So, Executive Counselor Karen Liot Hill, thank you so much for coming on. It's such a pleasure getting to know you. So,
Yeah.
really honored that you came on, and incredible story. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. And that's it for our latest episode of,
Anything but politics.
and we'll see y'all next time.
All right, thanks for listening.